Good evening and welcome to tonight's show. We're back and we're talking about Sublime. Yeah, that's right. We've been talking about Sublime a lot as of recent. Um, Man, there's been a lot of stuff going on. And so there's a lot to kind of discuss and talk about. We've had rival Sublime-esque factions, one who you would determine worthy of the true mantle, and as well as some imposters. One might consider the other faction to be imposters, although I got to be honest, I get a lot of comments. I get tons of comments that really are in support of Rome, which is strange to me. In any case, Jakob Nowell, Bud Gaugh, and Eric Wilson have formed under the name Sublime and officially played a show as Sublime. This has only happened one time before. If the HR set, I mean, yes, it was Sublime, but I don't think they were officially calling themselves Sublime. The last time a band called themselves Sublime, it was Rome, Bud, and Eric. They played two shows. They played a tiny show in Reno, Nevada, and then they played the Smokeout Festival in 2009, the Cypress Hill Smokeout Festival, under the name Sublime. They were calling themselves Sublime, not Sublime with Rome. So this is the first time since then that the band has officially, or a band entity officially is calling themselves Sublime. There's no asterisks, there's no with, there's no nothing. It's just Sublime. And they played Coachella, which seems to be a popular venue for a lot of sort of acts that either reform or, things that come back together. And we got the stream here, although I'm not going to play the audio. You cannot hear the audio. Oh, come on. There we go. What is that? No. Oh, we lost it. Hold on. We got to get that back. Son of a gun. Son of a gun. Where was it? Oh, no. This is terrible. Why did that happen? They were live streaming everything. Dude, we lost it. All right. No bother. No bother. We got this one instead. Here we go. Let's play that. There we go. There they are playing. Oh, fucker. Happened again. Son of a gun. Son of a gun. I mean, that's really a shame because it's a live stream. Because it's a live stream. It's technical difficulties, man. This really is this is a thorn in my side. I gotta see if wow, that just totally defeats the purpose of what I wanted to do. I wanted to take a look at the band. Wow. We lost it. I don't think. Oh, wow. It's only 12 hours. Huh. See if we can get that back. That's really unfortunate. That's really. Here we go. They're chopping it up now. They're putting out clips. But I wanted to watch the full set. Okay, they played. When did they play? Yesterday? Yeah, look how many friggin' stages there are. How am I supposed to know what's what? Wow. I'm really upset right now because what stage did Sublime play at Coachella? What stage is Sublime on Coachella? The main stage. That doesn't really help because there's how many stages? There's a Sahara stage, there's a Mojave stage, there's a Sonora stage. Channel. Let's see if we can. I mean, come on, dude. What is that? Not a bummer? Is that not the biggest bummer in the world? Totally lost it. Oh, is that a fucker right there? Hold on, let me see. Sublime Coachella 2024. Let's see what pops up. No, it looks like it's just clips. Oh, is that a shame? Wow. I am bumming right now. We had oh, is that a shame? We had a whole thing. I had the whole thing. I should have ripped it. I should have friggin' ripped it. What was I thinking? Oh, that is just terribly frustrating. What kind of show is this going to be now? I mean, there are some clips here, but yeah, whatever. All right, screw it. We'll play this one instead. This is them doing Santeria. I watched a little bit. I was gonna go in blind. I watched a little bit ahead of time, and I want to say, so they open with April 26, 1992. And I'll tell you right off the bat, Jake, seems like there's a little bit of inconsistency of what he's trying to figure out he's trying to dial in. And by the second song, he's clicked. And by the time they're doing Wrong Way and what else did they play? Garden Grove and Greatest Hits. Oh my God. I don't know if they played Garden Grove. They played Greatest Hits next. And man, he fell right in, leaps and bounds above that first set that they played. And what's really nice about here, let me play some of this footage while we're already recorded stuff in the studio. You know what I mean? So it's like they're still not quite sure. They're still not quite sure what is going to be, what is going to be and what is not going to be. I don't know. Which I find very interesting to consider when you think about that. When you look at when you look at Doing Time, when you look at a song like Doing Time and, you realize that it's not like they went in there and Doing Time was like, okay, this part's going to be here. This part's going to be here. They kind of they found it in the studio. They found a bunch of it in the studio, at least, whether that was with Brad or whether, so to now see this come to fruition after all these years with, I'm going to show them all. I'm going to get, it's just fucking beautiful, man. What a performance. What a performance. He said, "I love you, Dad. Thank you." I think that's what he just said. I'm gonna listen to the Badfish too. I'm so annoyed. I had it all queued up. We're gonna look at the Los Angeles Times article for a second because there's some tea in there. Yeah, it's great. It's healing. It's soothing. It's just such a fucking soothing thing. It's like, oh God, it's fucking great. And you know what else is great? Stickers. And you know who the sponsor is of the Frumess channel? Riot Stickers. Do you need stickers? Because you can get 200 die cut stickers for $69 when you go to riotstickers.com/Frumess, Frumess. A die cut sticker is a sticker in any shape that you might want. So if you wanted a sticker in the shape of the Sublime Sun, you could get that. Link is down in the description. You can get a lot of different kinds of stickers. Yeah, man. Riotstickers.com. I'm not going to hit you over the head with the sponsorship because we have more to cover. So I'm going to play the Less Than Jake theme song, and we'll be right back to take a look at a little bit of tea.
We make stickers, banners, and buttons too, posters and promo cards. There's nothing we can't print for you. From stage backdrops to bass drum heads, we can print on shirts, we can print on hats, we can print on pants. Cheap prices and high quality.
Yo, what's going on? We got crazy white boy in the house, by the way. I just thought I'd say that. He agrees they'll only get tighter. Okay. So I mentioned there was a little bit of tea. I mean, what I mean by tea is so here's the thing. We've been following what's been going on with Sublime and Sublime with Rome and the beef between whatever you want to call it. As you know, Eric left Sublime with Rome, leaving Rome as the only member of Sublime with Rome, which in reality he should just call it just Rome. If he called the band Just Rome, that would be so fucking funny. And he would come out looking like a fucking winner, if you ask me. Go out on tour, Just Rome. Play all the fucking Sublime with Rome songs. Everybody will fucking get it. That's fucking hilarious. That would be funny. In any case, we've read a couple of articles. We know that Jake and Rome had a phone call, but we didn't know what the details of that phone call were until now. We also, I heard one reason. I have one inkling as to why Eric left Sublime with Rome, and but it's not for me to really express or talk about, so I'm not going to. But Eric has better verbalized whatever his official reason for leaving Sublime with Rome is, and it has to do with the live show. And I guess it kind of makes sense, especially after what we just watched from Coachella. So let's take a look. Now, I'm not going to read this whole article here because a lot of it is the same sort of stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip down. But first, I just want to say that it took Bradley Nowell's son years to embrace Sublime. Now he'll lead the band at Coachella. This is by Mikhail Wood, pop music critic, from April 4th, 2024. So this was posted a little while back. And here, what does Troy, Brad's widow, and Jacob's mom think? It's surreal. Joe Escalante, who was a longtime member of Orange County's Vandals, currently serves as one of Sublime's managers and used to play shows with Sublime and used to see Sublime back in the day. So he goes back a ways, which is I think is kind of cool. And he says it's like Walt Disney getting unfrozen, which I thought was pretty interesting. Like I said, we already read the history. Let's look at the more interesting aspects. He says, Jacob's been telling a iteration of the same, story. I mean, it's just this is what happens with interviews. You do a lot of interviews, you end up telling the same kind of cookie cutter story over and over again. We've already sort of been over that. So I don't feel like there's any real reason to reiterate it again. Troy says, I don't know if Bradley's somewhere in the other dimension turning knobs, but Jake just stepped up. I thought that's a pretty interesting quote. Both Gaugh and Wilson say Jakob is the only person for whom they'd consider reviving Sublime. I mean, but we know that's not true because they tried to do it once before with Rome. But much like Frankenstein's monster, it got out of control. But listen, let's not mince meat here. I mean, Eric enabled that to happen for a very long time. And it's not until Eric leaves and Jakob is, now in control of things with the Sublime trademark, they're not going to relicense the name. And that's the other thing too. Somebody commented on one of my videos and was like, I forgot what they said specifically, but like, you have to realize that they leased the name for 5 more years. There was a 5-year lease in 2019, right? So it's like this notion that Rome is forced to do all of these things under the Sublime with Rome name. The reality is he legally can do so for another year because of the license, right? He has the license to do so for another year. He's taking advantage of that despite the fact that there are no original members. That's fucking dishonest, if you ask me. At least that's allegedly what I think is going on, right? Gaugh stopped playing with Sublime with Rome back in 2011, while Wilson announced in February that he'd quit the band, which he had worked steadily with over the last 15 years. And this is the reason why, according to Eric, this is the reason why he left Sublime with Rome. It had started to feel like a factory, the bassist says. They were using backing tapes and click tracks. It was like a well-greased machine, and that's not Sublime. And you know what? He's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. And you can tell, you can see it, that when they're playing that set at Coachella, there's nothing, it doesn't sound, everything sounds like it's, coming to life. Sublime, for all the studio polish that those self-titled tracks have, when they're playing live, it's just the three guys. It's just the three of them. The three of them are playing live, trying their best to reproduce her. They were trying to figure it out. Bradley died before I think they could really even crack the code on those songs, right? I mean, they literally have been playing them for just a few months, as opposed to their other material, which they had years to work out live as a three-piece. And, that's the problem with three pieces, especially when you're doing something more complicated. You need somebody else there, on the keys, and just an auxiliary person to kind of fill in the sound. And that could have been Miguel, and it wasn't, unfortunately. Miguel was doing sound. He was running the sound and whatnot. In any case, the notion that, Rome is using backing tapes and click tracks, probably because, much like the Badfish tribute, I'd imagine, they're trying to recreate the album experience, or some variation of that. And part of, if you've listened to any of the live shows of Sublime, there's a lot of sloppiness. There's sloppy grace, and one of my favorite terms for a live band, that is unpredictable. There's an unpredictability to Sublime. You don't know what you're going to get. And that's what Eric is realizing, or he took him all those years to realize that, although I do think there were other reasons why Eric left the band. I do not think that was the only reason, but I'm sure that was clearly a supporting reason. Despite Wilson's departure, Sublime with Rome is a tour booked through the fall, which clearly vexes the members of Sublime. Gaugh notes the potential for confusion among fans, saying a friend reached out excitedly the other day to tell him that she'd bought tickets for their show in Maui, a Sublime with Rome date, as it turns out. I mean, that to me is that's dishonest, man. That's just straight up, that's dishonest, dude. Like, how are you going to go around like calling it a farewell tour when there's nobody? It's just you. And you're using the name to sell tickets. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. Previously, Jake has been very kind of like diplomatic in the press about how, what he thinks about Rome and this, that, and the other. And this article, finally, the gloves kind of come off, and he kind of really speaks his mind for the first time. It's really illuminating. Jakob views Rome's decision to keep going in more dramatic moral terms. That guy literally thinks he's entitled to play as a band with no members of the original band in it, he says. Everyone's like, well, he really kept the dream alive. Kept the dream alive? There are kids wearing Sublime shirts right now that don't say with Rome on them. What are we talking about here? It's insanity. The truth is, he thinks he can continually profit off of a family's tragedy without any connection to it. And you know what? Boom. What a fucking statement. And you know what? He's absolutely right. Jakob is right, man. I mean, this guy was brought in. He was minted by the dudes. The dudes bounced. It's like everybody's left the party except for you. What are you doing? What are you doing? Why on earth would you continue to do this? I guess they reached out to Rome for comment, and Rome says, it breaks my heart if he thinks that that's true, talking about Jake based on what he just said about the entitlement. And Rome says, Not in the least do I feel any sort of sense of entitlement to play as Sublime. In my eyes, Sublime has and will always be Brad, Bud, and Eric. And yet you say that, but you are going out as a band called Sublime with Rome, and none of the guys are with you. What are you talking about? It really does. It's annoying. It really is. Vex is the perfect word to describe what is going on here. I mean, really, truly. Ramirez adds that he prefer to play his band's upcoming dates, most of which he says were booked more than a year ago, well before Wilson left, under the name Rome. I don't want to be up there playing billed as Sublime because it's not, he says. But unfortunately, legally, we are obligated to play these shows. I mean, that may be slightly true, but it's also slightly true that you have the license to do so. And the fact of the matter is, even if you're trying to uphold an obligation, you still should play those shows. But it is morally dishonest for fans, for people, whoever, to purchase tickets thinking that they're going to be seeing members of Sublime, of which he is not. He is not a member of Sublime. He is the whatever. He is the front man of a spin-off of what was once Sublime. And it's disgusting. It really is at this point. Now, Jakob clarifies right here. He says, Jakob says he called Ramirez before Sublime announced it was playing Coachella to discuss how we were going to handle this media rollout. Yet Ramirez, he adds, only wanted to know how many shows the band planned to play. So it sounds like when asking a question like that, how many shows the band planned to play, all that sounds like to me is a dude who absolutely feels entitled to continue to play under the Sublime banner. And absolutely, I mean, what a callous thing to say. Like, how do you not understand? How do you not recognize that you've overstayed your welcome? Because that's literally what Rome has done. He's overstayed his welcome. You know, how many shows am I playing with my dad's band? Jakob recalls. You're tripping, bro. I mean, that really is what a chutzpah. You know, the idea that he wanted to know how many shows. It goes to show that everything that Rome was saying was like, because he really thought, maybe Rome really thought, oh, they're going to play a couple of shows, right? They're going to play a couple of shows, and then we can go back to being Sublime with Rome. And you want to know something? You know what's interesting? I think that if Jake was not in the picture, or if Jake was not as interested as he was, right? As he was, that Rome would probably, again, this is speculation. I don't know this to be true, but I bet you that Rome would have no issue, no qualm, no crisis of conscience going out as Sublime with Rome without Eric. If Jake was not interested, or if Jake was like, yeah, dude, you can keep leasing the name. Let's say that Jake wanted to just focus on a solo career, didn't care the way that he cared about the band or his father's legacy and this, that, and the other, and he just wanted to do his own thing. And he's like, oh, and I can get supplementary income, right? And like, you know, like, I'm sure Rome would be gladly continue to lease that name. He would be glad to do it. Thank you, Fat American, who says for the support. I'm not a fan of Rome's voice at all. No disrespect. I don't think that's disrespectful at all. Eric says Garden Grove was definitely the second song. Jake killed it. Alex says, I heard Carlos Santana's brother will purposely advertise his shows just as Santana without any mention of Carlos. Yeah, well, that's shitty too. The point is that Rome had an idea, Rome thought, he was like, yeah, I'm going to continue to do this Sublime thing without Eric, right? He thought it was just like, oh yeah, they're gonna do that, and then they'll get it out of their system. Like you keep going as Sublime with Rome. And there are some people, and again, this is going back to what I was saying before. There is a whole like contingent of fans who never, who only got into Sublime after Sublime with Rome was around. So for them, they're very embracing and maybe accepting of Sublime with Rome. They never lived in that weird in-between time where they were fans of a band that just didn't exist anymore and that there was never going to be anything else, right? And that's what I was talking about, that like 9, 10, 11, 12-year period, you know? Ramirez says, we talked for like 40 minutes. There was never any mention of them wanting to work amicably on the launch of this tour. Jacob sighs. He's just shown me and my family no kindness. And if anything, me and Rome should be best fucking friends, he says. I mean, who else could better relate to living in another man's shadow for the entirety of your career? Oh, God. Oh, does that fucking sting? Oh, what a shank. You know, if words could be as sharp as knives or daggers, that was the sharpest dagger right to Rome's side. Oh my God. And you know, it really does speak oceans about Jake, because Jake is like Jake understands. He's like, I've lived in my father's shadow forever. And he's not just saying, living in another man's shadow, but that the fact that they're both living in Bradley Nowell's shadow. They have that in common. They both will endlessly be compared or connected to Bradley Nowell for the rest of their fucking lives because of this thing. So the idea that he says that Rome and I should be best fucking friends, who else could better relate to living in another man's shadow for the entirety of your career? Because that's what Jake had to do too. But Jake understands it. Jake is fucking aware, you know? Yeah, Eric, you're right, man. But I was saying Bud seemed like he was a little slow, but maybe that's what I'm missing. He does, yeah, that drop. He does that drop, that delayed hit, and it is fucking legendary. And there's nobody else who does it like Bud. It really is great. And then what does he say? That's how Sublime feels to Jacob. That's how Sublime feels to Jacob. It's always felt like a lot has been hinging on me, he says heavily. Wait, what? Wait, blah, blah, blah. Let me take that again. That's how Sublime feels to Jacob. It's always felt like a lot has been hinging on me, he says heavily. But you either get busy riding or you get busy dying. I'm a strong person, and although I have my low moments, I picked myself up from them. If I wasn't the right person for the job, I wouldn't be doing it. I mean, fuck, dude. I mean, that's fucking rad, man. Thank you once again, Fat American, for your contribution. Fat American says, Rome seems to be a leech at this point. That or this self-awareness level is zero. You know, Fat American, you nailed it right on the head. He has zero self-awareness. Jacob has the self-awareness. Dude really thinks he's a matriarch. The thoughts on Jacob's performance. I thought at the beginning, we were talking about his performance at the beginning. I thought it was unfucking real, dude. I thought it was unbelievable. He did a fucking amazing job. He starts off like trying to feel it out at the very beginning, and then he finds himself. He finds his way. Fat American also says, I haven't heard Eric say anything about the situation. He seemed to be a bit pissy in the last performance they had in December. I wonder how he feels about the whole Jacob thing. I think he's stoked about it. I think he was, again, I speculate that, you know, he seems to have been like really sort of over. He's really tired. He's really tired over the whole Rome thing and using click tracks and, you know, backing tracks and pre-recorded tracks, and wants the feelings that he had when they were Sublime. And he gets that in some way, shape, or form when he's playing with Jake, you know. And listen, I say I hope they ride it for as long as they're able to ride it, man. They should go until they can't go anymore. And you know, I was thinking about this when I was watching the set, and I was thinking to myself, what's going to happen? What will happen, or what will become of this? Whatever this is, new this new version of Sublime, this regenerated version of Sublime, Son of Sublime, Son of Sublime, SOS, Son of Sublime. What will happen when Bud and Eric hang it up? Will Jake continue on with the name without those guys? Would it be okay if he did? Would it be valid? Would it make sense? I couldn't say. I couldn't say. My initial gut is no. I mean, that would be, I think when those guys are ready to go, that's the end. Like this was the perfect third act for Sublime. We talked about this before. The first act of Sublime ends with Brad dying. The second act of Sublime is when there is no Sublime and the band blows up on the radio. And, you know, speaking of the 90s and whatnot, like just once again, underground music seeping up from a 90s subculture and becoming homogenous over, nationally over the radio, and on MTV, and spawning 1,000 imitators who will never, ever replicate what was that until they settle with something called Sublime with Rome. And then that chapter ends when Jake decides, hey, I'm ready to step into this role that, I think for a long time was misplaced. It was this misplaced understanding of like, why would a dude, just because he's the son of this other dude, join his, take over his father's band? But that's the theme, that the reoccurring theme that we've been kind of exploring this entire episode, this entire show, is that because of what happened to Sublime, that's why they needed this third act. This is how it needed to end. It didn't need to end with Brad dying and the band blowing up. It needed to end with his son picking up the torch and carrying it for his father. You know what I mean? In a way that, is just so fucking valid. And yeah, I hope that they said they were going to do something in the studio with unreleased, snippets of Brad and, unfinished tracks, and then, incorporate Jakob and some other stuff. I think that is a great idea. That'll be like the swan song on whatever Sublime is. And then the story can end on a positive note. The story ends on a positive note. The band came back for a victory lap, like a real one. Sublime with Rome had great intentions, but was so misguided for so many reasons. And this is a fucking victory lap. This is the real victory lap. This is what they always wanted from Sublime with Rome. It's just that Jake was too young and it didn't make sense then. In fact, what's interesting is you almost needed Sublime with Rome to happen so that people could realize, hey, we actually prefer and embrace and understand this iteration of Sublime. Because now, after seeing what was possible, and again, like we've talked about with TSOL, it's like you have the guy who didn't even start the band, Joe Wood, who I like as a singer songwriter. Don't get me wrong, but he took this band that wasn't his and he took ownership of it, and then tried to prevent the original members from going out and playing as TSOL. I mean, what an insane fucking notion. That's not necessarily what Rome is trying to do, but Rome has no, like the idea that you could have a clear conscience and go out as Sublime with Rome. I mean, I'm just being redundant at this point. We've beaten this to death. We really have beaten this to death. I'm not really sure there's much more, unless something really comes out. I'm not really sure there's much more to explore here in sort of this Sublime space, at least in this kind of way. Maybe going back now and taking a look at some of the albums and, doing what we were doing with Robin the Hood. We did a whole history on Robin the Hood. But I think like the story we've examined the story, we've examined the situation, so pending any crazy sort of developments, I think that's really all we got to say about it. I mean, I don't know. Let's take one more look at our poll before we peel out of here. Let's see where it finally leaves off. So 50% think that they crushed it. 23% say it was decent enough, okay. 18% say meh, and 9% say I prefer Sublime with Rome. Ugh, barf in my mouth. That is weird. I'm sorry. Listen, I know you just got here. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure you like this video. Please like this video. Please leave a skull in the comments. And make sure you have notifications turned on so that when we do another show about Sublime, if we do another show about Sublime, that you will be aware and you can join us in the conversation. And we can, yeah. And that's it. So peace, hair grease. Everybody have a good night. We'll see you next time. Okay. That's all we got.